Magic the Gathering is over 30 years old, and that is plenty of time to generate some juicy conspiracy theories. I'm going to cover some of the most interesting rumors I've found, and you can decide if I'm here to promote truth or if I'm just another industry plant for Hasbro. So let's start with a crowd favorite. The shuffle is rigged. You're probably thinking, stop being an idiot, of course it's rigged. Well, yes, but actually no. Magic Arena is the most popular way to play online these days, and in Magic Arena there are multiple different queues. We've got constructed queues, draft queues, ranked, unranked, etc. Some of these have hidden rules. The most well documented is the best of one queue hand smoothing. You see, moving away from traditional best of 3 to only best of 1 causes some issues. Magic the Gathering is already high variance, and without the extra games to minimize the chances of a bad run, Wizards of the Coast decided to do something. The game draws 2 hands for you and then shows you the one with the closest ratio of lands and spells to the deck that you registered. So theoretically, if you brought a deck of 70 cards, with 30 of them being lands, 40 being non-lands, then your ideal opening hand ratio would be 3 lands and 4 non-lands. What this means practically is that you will often see 2 to 4 lands in your opening hand, and you'll see that more often than you would in paper. The cascading effects of this are that aggressive decks can get away with running less lands than they should be able to normally, and also it can reduce flooding because on average you're going to have a few less lands in your opening hand. So in this instance it is rigged, but in your favor. However, there are those of us that believe that if you pay money into the store, Wizards will flag your account to give you more wins. How did they do this? Well, they put you on the play more often, they give you better draws, they screw your opponent, you know, usual stuff. Maybe buying this deal will actually give me bad luck. And clearly if you go against another whale, then the one with the biggest wallet is going to get the play. Now you can understand why people would believe this. Companies are not your friends, and you hear about exploitative practices all the time. Hell, Activision Blizzard actually patented a whole new way of matchmaking to try and manipulate people into buying cosmetics and microtransactions. But plenty of people have free to play their way to Mythic without any real issues, so call me a disbeliever. But what if instead of preferential treatment due to money, it was given out to streamers and pro players because of their fame?
A lot of this comes back to Worth Wolpert. He used to be like the head of Magic Online, basically. He could actually put cards in your account. They never did like valuable cards. Like one of the things I got one time was 500 Ambush Vipers, which are obviously a common that's worth like a cent. Yeah, and I got those from Worth, like because he was watching the stream and he dropped that in there. So then this is where like the whole whitelist was born, and the idea was like, Worth, please, one time, I really need to draw this land. And then the joke is you do draw it and they're like, somebody at Wizards is watching. They just wanted to make sure I drew it right.
This whole situation honestly reminds me a lot of Teamfight Tactics these days. TFT is in the auto battler genre and is made by Riot Games, and also has a very healthy following on Twitch. It's full of random elements like what to buy from the shop, who you fight, what items drop, etc. And Mortdog, the lead game designer, has historically been very active in streams, commenting in people's chats, etc.
It was called a Dev Hour.
Wait, really? Why'd they mention me?
Yeah, Dev Hour D's nuts.
And whenever anything bad would happen, people would cry.
Man, I'm getting more dogged again.
Dude, not cool.
I like to think everyone's in on the joke and it's extremely clear that no one is messing with their accounts, but either way, people love to have someone to blame when things go wrong. Then maybe you're still convinced that your draws are being messed with. Can I interest you in the Thoughtseize bug? This is a rumor that has been around for as long as online platforms have let you play Thoughtseize and also scry cards. The bug is that when you look at your opponent's hand, you take their best card, and then the following turn they draw that same card off the top of their deck and you get wrecked. When I looked into this, I was like, you know, it's a pretty old rumor. It's probably died off by now. Absolutely not. It carried over from Magic Online into Arena, and there are even official forum threads with replies from poor devs asking for it to be investigated. Sorry, I can't replicate this. Can you give me some examples? Stay strong, Tony. Stay strong. This one is firmly in the currently unproven category. Speaking of confirmation bias, you know that feeling when you queue up with a new deck and you run into a bad matchup over and over again? So you switch your deck and now you're running into a brand new bad matchup over and over again. It's enough to make you think that Wizards is matching you on a deck by deck basis just to screw you over. But surely that's logistically almost impossible, and what would Wizards even gain from doing that? Well, specifically in the casual brawl queue of Arena, this is exactly what happens, and it's by design. Amy the Amazonian did a great great breakdown video on this whole thing a little under a year ago, and I'll link that below in the description. To try and summarize the whole thing, a bug was found that allowed people to scrape data from the Arena client. Behind the scenes, it was revealed that both commanders and cards in the deck are given hidden weightings. These weighting numbers get tallied up, and then Arena attempts to match decks of similar values together. So for example, very powerful commanders are given a higher weighting and weaker ones vice versa. There were a lot of weird examples in the data that got leaked. It seemed that many of the weighting numbers for the main deck cards were influenced by their win rate in traditional constructed formats like Standard or Explorer, which should have basically no bearing on how effective they are in Brawl. Not long after this video came out, Wizards put out a statement about the bug, and they explained how this kind of matchmaking is ideal in their minds for unranked best of one queues, because it lets people have better games depending on how tryhard they want to be. They also state in this article that the data will soon be hidden again, and that they will do their best to try and adjust it more accurately for the format. So yeah, in this case, it turns out that a lot of the things you would expect to be false were actually true. Although Wizards were always open about commanders being matched in the format, this whole crazy behind the scenes weighting system for every card in the deck was not known. Sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction. Speaking of matchmaking, what if you were trying to play your favorite format and you couldn't get a match for ages? And then when you finally did, you were taken hostage, your opponents roping out constantly, just waiting as long as possible to do anything. You think, well, fair enough, it's not that popular a format. Maybe the person I matched into is just playing on a second monitor or is busy doing something else. But no, it keeps happening, and all the while people are racking up wins in the background. So what's going on?
That was the first thing I queued up against was one of their accounts. They don't want me to queue up against one of their accounts because they're not actually playing games of Magic. They're conceding to each other. They're the same person conceding to each other. So that one account will go 5-0 and one account will go 0-5, and they will net a profit. And these players are doing this over and over again to the point where players who play Vintage can't actually find matches. I am going to be held in here for as long as this account wants me to be held in here, 25 minutes, while they queue up against each other.
This example is to do with Vintage, but it actually happened a few years earlier with Pauper as well. The issue is that if you were to go 5-0 in a league and then 0-5 in a league, you would actually make a small profit. So if you could engineer that situation reliably, then you're printing money, albeit very slowly. To fix this issue, what WotC did was flatten the prize structure a lot so that you got less sellable rewards for going 5-0, making it no longer profitable to win trade with yourself. So all of my examples so far have been regarding online play, but there's plenty of paper rumors too, and one of the most interesting is Purple Mana. In 1997, an issue of Inquest magazine was released, and it created a lot of buzz. Will purple be Magic's next color? This piece goes over what a sixth color in Magic might look like. The purple cards are discounted in comparison to normal cards, but as a trade-off they have to anchor to other cards in play, which can put them at risk of being destroyed as a 2-for-1. Honestly, the designs are pretty cool, and it's no wonder that people latched onto them. Although the article itself is clearly a joke, people didn't let reality get in the way of a good story. There's even evidence of this from the old mothership at the time, where answering emails they acknowledged the rumor's existence. But what makes this story super cool though is that it almost became reality. In 2007, an article titled "The Color Purple" was posted on the mothership, and in it Paul Sotosanti goes over how WotC gave serious consideration to implementing the sixth color. Planar Chaos was a set all about an alternative reality version of Magic where history was different. Mechanically, this meant that colors got to steal stuff from the others, but it also opened the door for a radical change in the pie itself. In the end, we never got to live in that timeline, mostly because it was too hard for them to figure out what purple would do. Stealing mechanics from the other colors entirely wasn't enough of an identity, and it was challenging to carve out an entirely new niche separate from the other colors in the pie. Flash forward 9 years. Oath of the Gatewatch releases, and in it Wastes are debuted, along with multiple Eldrazi cards that need this colorless mana to be cast. The Eldrazi both borrow mechanics from existing colors and also try to carve out their own niche to mixed success. So even if we didn't get purple mana, we got an honorary sixth color, and that's pretty neat. So I'm sure that there are rumors I've missed. Please leave them in the comments and I can maybe do a follow-up video covering them all. If you want more videos of me apping, then check this baby out and subscribe so you don't miss my future videos. Peace. It's not gonna work.